Do you sometimes wonder why people sabotage their own progress? Why someone with talent holds back? Why someone with potential hides? Or why you sometimes avoid the very things you say you want? Alfred Adler, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, believed the answer lies in a silent battle. Every person is fighting. A battle not against the world, but against ourselves. Adler is often overshadowed by Freud and Jung, yet his ideas may be the most practical, human, and useful for understanding why we suffer and how we can stop. Because according to Adler, the problem is rarely life itself. It's the solutions we adopt to deal with life, and most people adopt the wrong ones. Today, we'll explore the psychology Adler believed shapes every decision we make, our hidden feelings of inferiority, and the desperate strategies we use to escape them. Adler believed something radical. Every human being is moving toward a goal, whether they know it or not. We aren't drifting. We aren't random. We are aiming at something. This aim begins forming in childhood, when we quietly ask ourselves, how can I best survive in this world? What type of person must I become? The answer becomes our self-ideal, a mental image of the person we wish we could be. This ideal silently pulls us forward like a magnet. For some, the ideal is strength. For others, success. For some, beauty, intelligence, dominance, or popularity. Even if we never say it out loud, we are constantly trying to move from a psychological minus to a plus. This striving, what Adler called the drive for superiority, is not about being better than others. It's about becoming better than our current self. But here's where the inner war begins. As soon as we create an ideal self, we also create a gap, a painful awareness of everything we are not. And that pain becomes the most powerful force in our life. Adler believed that every person carries feelings of inferiority. Some are based on reality, such as height, intelligence, wealth, or skill. But many are imagined. We create weaknesses that don't actually exist. The key is this: inferiority only hurts where it touches our self-ideal. If wealth means nothing to you, being poor doesn't bother you. If strength isn't part of your identity, being weak doesn't matter. But touch the area that defines your worth, and even the smallest flaw feels unbearable. This is why two people can experience the same event, but react completely differently. One man loses his job and sees it as a challenge. Another loses his job and collapses into shame. The difference isn't the event, it's the meaning they attach to it. And from that meaning, two paths emerge. When faced with inferiority feelings, we have only two possible reactions. One, we confront the challenge through one of the following: direct problem solving or genuine compensation. This is healthy coping. If we're not skilled enough, we train. If we're not knowledgeable enough, we study. If we're lacking in one area, we cultivate strength in another. This creates growth, resilience, and real confidence. But most people choose the second option. That is, we avoid the challenge entirely. This is where the inner war becomes deadly. Adler called these escape strategies safeguarding behaviors, the psychological sideshows people use to avoid confronting the real problem. These behaviors come in many forms. Procrastination. I'll start tomorrow. Chronic exhaustion. I'm too tired to deal with this. Physical symptoms like headaches or tension. Anxiety used as a shield. I can't do it because I'm scared. Perfectionism. The fear of being seen as imperfect. Only taking tiny steps before retreating back into the comfort zone. People use these strategies to protect their fragile self-ideal, to avoid the risk of failure, to avoid discovering the truth they fear most. What if I'm not enough? But avoidance has a cost, because the longer we protect ourselves from pain, the weaker we become. Safeguarding behaviors work until they don't. Excuses eventually lose their power. People see through them. You see through them. And when the strategies fail, you face a crossroads. You either confront the challenge you've been avoiding, or you collapse into what Adler called the inferiority complex, a psychological retreat from life. This is the moment when someone stops believing change is possible, when they give up striving, when they shrink their world to avoid all forms of risk. It's a tragic form of self-imprisonment. But Adler believed most people don't end up here because they're weak. They end up here because they built their life on an impossible ideal. One of Adler's most powerful insights is this: your self-ideal might be the very thing ruining your life. If your ideal is perfection, if your ideal demands constant success, if your ideal requires you to be admired, beautiful, wealthy, powerful, or flawless, you will always fail. You will always feel inferior, and you will always run because your ideal was never achievable. People don't avoid tasks because the tasks are hard. They avoid them because the comparison hurts. Sometimes the cure is not work harder. Sometimes the cure is to choose a more humane ideal. Adler believed that the foundation of all mental health can be summarized in one word: courage. Courage is not talent. It's not confidence. It's not fearlessness. Courage is the willingness to act despite fear. It is choosing to step into uncertainty, choosing discomfort over stagnation, choosing growth over safety. Life will not stop challenging you. The question is, will you meet life with courage or retreat into the misery of your comfort zone? Every moment offers a choice. Shrink or strive, avoid or advance, protect your ego or transform your life. Adler believed that when a person chooses courage, they stop fighting the inner war, because the self they feared they were and the self they want to become finally move in the same direction. So ask yourself, where in your life have you been using excuses? Where have you been hiding behind anxiety, tiredness, perfectionism, or delay? Where are you running from the very thing you desire? And most importantly, what would happen if you stopped protecting yourself and instead started living with courage? The answer might just change your life.